Right, welcome back, or welcome if you are new to the channel. My name's Zach Jones, as you probably know, and I'm going to be reading the rest of Chapter 12 from Doctor Who Engines of War. Now, so far the Doctor has come to the Death Zone on Gallifrey in order to find out what Rassilon is up to, and also to know what the possibility engine is. Now, are you all ready? Good. Now, it's about to begin. The interior of the tower was cavernous, and lit by further braziers that cast long, flickering shadows, lending the place a sombre tone, which the Doctor considered was only natural for a tomb. It was dominated by the tomb itself, which sat on a large plinth in the centre of the chamber, with impressive marble pillars on each corner, and a short flight of steps leading up to the raised dais. Tattered banners in greys and blues hung from the ceiling. Once they might have been splendid, but now they were dusty and rotten, representative that the Doctor decided of a faded glory of the Time Lords themselves. The Doctor watched as Rassilon swept into the great hall, his billowing robes trailing across the marble floor and whirling eddies of dust in his wake. His staff tapped with every step, echoing out in the desolate, abandoned place. He crossed to a small hexagonal console and ran his hand over it, waking the system so that a series of ruins lit up across the surface. He then turned and approached the empty tomb upon which his body, or rather the body of his previous incarnation, had once lain. "Borusa!" he called, his voice booming as if to wake the dead. "Borusa, I have need of you." Was Borusa still here? His essence trapped inside the carved relief on the side of Rassilon's granite coffin? During that fateful episode when the Doctor had been forced to endure the Death Zone, this was where Rassilon had incarcerated Borusa. There was a whirring sound from atop the tomb, and as the Doctor watched, a platform began to raise itself up, pivoting so that the figure lying on top of the tomb would be presented upright to anyone standing below. Rassilon stood at the bottom of the steps, looking up at the machine as the machine completed its cycle. The Doctor, still standing in the doorway, crept forward in order to get a better look, edging around to stand in the shadow of a buttress. He cringed as his boots scuffed against the polished marble, but thankfully the grating sound of the mechanism muffled his steps, and Rassilon didn't look behind him. The sight of the thing on the tomb was something the Doctor would never forget, not in all his lives. It was utterly monstrous. Borusa had been lashed to the steel frame, his wrists and ankles bound with a rope, so that his body formed the shape of a cross. He was still wearing his ceremonial robes, but where they fell open over his chest, it was clear they were hiding a multitude of sins. His body was a mess, resting at the heart of a nest of wires and cables. His pale flesh was puckered where incisions had been made in his chest, and tubes had been inserted, pushed deep into the cavity, presumably to inflate his lungs and keep at least one of his hearts beating. His head was crowned with a metal skull cap, and a knot of cables erupted from the back of his skull, trailing away to the blinking box of a neutral relay. Most terrifying of all was his face, which appeared to be trapped in an endless cycle of transition, accompanied by the soft glow of regenerative energy. It twisted and reformed as the Doctor watched, passing through the endless likenesses of all Borusa's previous incarnations, or at least the ones the Doctor recognised, as well as many others he did not. His eyes flickered with bright electrical energy as he stared, unseeing, down at Rassilon. This, then, was Rassilon's possibility engine. "Tell me, Borusa, what do you see?" said Rassilon, almost reverently. "I see Gallifrey burning," croaked Borusa, his voice barely above a whisper. "I see the end of all things, the darkness that cleanses. I see the moment, the very moment when all things shall cease." Rassilon bunched his gauntleted fist. Then that is what we must change," he said. "What of the Tantalus Eye? The Doctor brings us news of a Dalek weapon, a doomsday device that could bring about our destruction." For a moment, Borusa didn't answer. He turned his head as if looking away, seeking a vision of the future. "The Doctor speaks the truth," he said. "The Dalek plan draws close to its zenith. If left unchecked, they will eradicate Gallifrey and all her children from history." "Then we must act," said Rassilon. "We are left with no choice." Borusa's head turned, and his weird, crackling eyes seemed to fix on the Doctor, who was still lurking in the shadows by the door. The Doctor felt a shudder of nervous anticipation. Had Borusa seen he was there? Would he reveal it? "There is another here," said Borusa, answering the Doctor's question. "Come forward, Doctor." Well, he supposed it was too late to make a run for it now. He stepped into the light to see Rassilon twist around, raising his gauntleted hand. The metal fist began to glow, taking on a bright blue sheen, humming with energy. He held it out, spreading his fingers as if at any moment he might clench them again, crushing the Doctor. Instead, he lowered it to his side, and the blue glow began to recede. "I might have killed you, Doctor, for your intrusion. You are not welcome here," he said. The Doctor ignored him, looking up at Borusa, lashed to the monstrous device. "Rassilon, what have you done?" "A thing of majesty, is it not?" crowed Rassilon, unable to resist the temptation to show off. "This, Doctor, is my possibility engine." "It's appalling," said the Doctor. "Monstrous." "It is a gift. Borusa brings enlightenment. His reward is to see all the wonders of the universe in all their myriad forms." "And at what cost?" "And all the horrors too, by the sound of it," said the Doctor. What have you done to him?" His timeline has been retro-evolved, said Rassilon. He is trapped in an it's a interactive regenerative cycle, always changing, always becoming more. More? Said the Doctor. It sounds terribly like a prison to me. You lack imagination, Doctor. This machine, it has freed Borusa from the prison of the flesh. It has unlocked his true potential. He is free to wander all of time and space inside his own mind. Every permutation of reality is his to navigate, every single possibility. And Borusa, what of you? Asked the Doctor. I see, answered Borusa simply. I see everything. It's an abomination, said the Doctor. What you've done here, it diminishes us all. You're wrong, Doctor. Borusa has transcended. He represents the future. He is the lucky one, the first of us to be truly free. The Doctor shook his head. Can't you see it, Rassilon? What this means? By doing this to Borusa, you're reducing us to the same level as the Daleks. You're altering us, making us something less than we are. It's only one step removed from deleting our capacity for empathy, for emotion. Where will it lead? Soldiers without a conscience? Metal travel units? You're being melodramatic, Doctor, said Rassilon. It's one man. It always starts with one man, Rassilon, replied the Doctor solemnly. I have done only what is necessary, said Rassilon. What no one else was prepared to do. Borusa understood what was required of him. The possibility engine represents our salvation. With it, we might see the weave of all possible futures. We can choose our own destiny, selecting only the most fortuitous paths. We can measure the potential outcomes of all of our offences against the Daleks, ensuring our victory at every turn. We can bring an end to the war. Go on then, said the Doctor. Ask it. Ask it whether there's a way to deploy the Tear of Aisha without murdering all those people. Rassilon looked defiant. Very well, he said. He turned to Borusa. Borusa, the Castellans plan to deploy the Tear of Aisha into the Tantalus Eye. Will it work? Will it put an end to the Dalek threat in that sector and destroy their new temporal weapon? Will it save us? Borusa rolled his head from side to side, emitting a low moan. After a moment, he spoke. It will work. The tear will close the eye, and the Dalek weapon will be neutralized. Excellent, said Rassilon. And what? The reprieve will be only temporary, however, continued Borusa. The darkness still comes. It will smother all things. The age of the Time Lords draws to a close. You see, said the Doctor, even your own machine warns you that this is not the solution. The tear isn't the answer. It's not going to stop them. It will buy us time, said Rassilon. valuable time to prepare, to strategize, to further consult the possibility engine. And at what cost? Said the Doctor. You claim to be better than the Daleks. That it is our duty to survive this war, to bring peace and stability to the universe. And yet you are happy to re-engineer the very essence of your own people and turn them into strategic assets, to obliterate entire civilizations to get your own way. How is that any better? How is that any different? You sound as if you prefer the Daleks to your own people, Doctor, said Rassilon. Am I to take you for a traitor now? I hate the Daleks for all they represent, replied the Doctor, his voice level. He was trying not to lose his cool, despite the fact that every fibre of his being was telling him to wrestle Rassilon to the ground, to try and knock sense into the idiotic man before it was too late. But I don't wish to end up hating my own people for the same reasons, he added. Rassilon remained silent, as if contemplating the Doctor's words. The Doctor glanced up, looking into Borusa's disorientating, shifting face. Borusa, is there a means by which the tear can be deployed into the Tantalus eye without causing the deaths of all the people inhabiting the 12 worlds of the spiral? No, said Borusa, without a hesitation. I see no thread of possibility in which the human colonists will survive if the tear is deployed. The Doctor turned to Rassilon. Then surely you have your answer. I have only an awareness of the consequences of my actions, Doctor. This changes nothing, said Rassilon. His tone was firm, final. The decision has already been made. The tear will be deployed. I had thought to spare your precious humans, if Borusa could show us a means to do so. Alas, he has not. The time has come to act. He crossed to the console and initiated the command to lower Borusa's cradle back into the tomb. The Doctor trailed after him. You cannot do this, Rassilon. It changes everything. I warn you now. You will never come back from this decision. It's already done, came the response, stern and final. Come, I shall speak with the High Council. He made for the door. With sinking hearts, the Doctor followed Rassilon back to the Transmat station. Well, that didn't go very well now, did it? But I will, just to let you all know, I will be doing a few more readings of Engines of War, but I'm going to do them a bit later on, okay? For now, just please leave a comment down below, as it really does help my channel, okay? Goodbye for now.